in any way because this is the first that I have received any information about. It wasn't on Facebook from my daughter. I would like to know, because I do echo Michael Donovan's comments, that a meeting is not a substitute for a hearing, nor in my view, in any way, is this a public meeting. If it's not a public meeting, I would like to know, and perhaps I'm wrong, please correct me, where on any of the calendars for the high school, for the county, for the Allentown City, were these meetings listed? Because I will tell you, I have researched it and I can't find it anywhere.
We didn't go through the county district.
Well, where is it listed? How would the rest of the
Okay, I'll answer your question.
answer
Answer your question. It was advertised in the morning call.
We put an ad
When
in.
was that?
The morning call ran 3 separate ads on 3 separate days, large ads to announce the location, time, and date of this meeting.
And since we all know that the morning calls subscription base is considerably down, I personally don't subscribe to the morning call. Where would I, as a resident, have received information about this meeting?
There was an article online in the morning call last week in this
I don't subscribe to that.
article, in the morning call, webpage.
The web page you have to subscribe to also.
We advertise
The
that we're
public,
legally required
I
to.
guess that's really my question. What is the DEP, what is Delta Thermal Energy doing to foster relations with me as a resident? That's one
That question was asked, I believe you addressed it in the Citizens Council, but do you want to address it
As
again?
I said, this is the first meeting I've been
Okay,
in,
okay.
and I'm sure, if you look at this, there are
Okay,
how many residents of Allentown?
We'll have an
They're not
answer.
here.
Okay, we'll have an answer.
Can I answer? Okay. Would you like to volunteer for the Citizens Advisory Board?
I would absolutely love to.
See me afterwards, and we'll make that happen. But we'll have a Citizens Advisory Board with 7 people on it that volunteer already in very similar meetings like this, 4 of them. I welcome you to the committee, and we'll make it happen. So you'll get all the information you
Okay,
need.
but that, I'm one individual. What are we doing to foster relationships with the rest of Allentown? That's not enough, sorry.
Come to the Citizens Advisory meeting and tell us what you think we should be doing better. We've had multiple Citizens Advisory Board meetings. One of the members is sitting right
Where are
here.
the-
Okay, now let him answer his
meetings
question.
listed?
Let him answer his question.
No, I understand that you've had multiple meetings, I understand that. But this is the only one that I know about, and I found out about it on Facebook. Where else would I
This
have
is a
found out?
DEP sponsored meeting. This is the DEP sponsored meeting, and we advertised in the morning call. It was online. It was on the DEP website also. We didn't go through the school and county because we're not obligated by law to go through the school and the county. We advertise on our outlets.
That's what I wanted to know.
All
Thank you,
right.
that answers my question.
Thank you.
They're not obligated by law to tell the residents.
No, I didn't put it out on the. Okay, Thomas
May I
Scott.
respond?
Okay, wait, let me answer.
I'm sorry if you don't know about this project,
I don't.
but we've had at least 2 largely attended public meetings where we went for several hours, asked anybody who wanted to appear. One was in I forget where it was, but they're in the eastern portion of the city. One was in council chambers. There have been numerous meetings within council,
But again,
and
Let him answer that.
And there has been public advertising. At some point, the responsibility is yours.
We have another question. Go ahead.
One question.
One more question, your time is up.
I didn't speak to advisors yet, but my other question is that, we all know that proposals become reality and they're fed to the citizens of the United States, regardless of whether they're good for us or not, in the interest of profit rather than health. Why should I believe that you at the DEP and the Delta Thermal Energy has my best interests at heart for my already adversely affected health? How should I know that? I mean, what will make me believe you? And that part is
understand the concerns when there's due process. It's our job as DEP engineers. You know, we're professional engineers, we have ethics, we have to go by the law, regulations. We always side and err on the side of caution when we permit these. We put as much stringent requirements in as we possibly can. We can attest that by asking most of the companies that we permit, they're usually arguing and you know, there's a back and forth that goes on. But we certainly err on the side of the public, because that's what we're here to protect the welfare and the health of the citizens in Pennsylvania.
Well, who decides what those chemicals are, you know, that as you stated, should be monitored? Who decides what they are?
We decide.
And how do you do that?
Based on the type of process and what type of fuel they're using. Through our experience, we know what emissions, what type of chemicals are going to be emitted. We also look at federal regulations similar to, you know, that impose restrictions similar to this type of source.
Like the GMOs, that's already eating, like that?
What else? What we do is imply the best available technology, the best available control technology that's out there. What they are imposing here is cyclones, baghouses, SCR for controls, activated carbon injection, all of that. So all of that in series reduces the emissions to where, you know, it meets the regulations, both federal and state.
Thank you, Dan. You've had your 5 minutes. Thank you.
She wasn't paid to be here.
Thomas. Okay. Thank you.
I got that.
Thank you for having this meeting. I would like to address some water issues. First of all, I believe on one of your slides you said that the output from the water treatment, or the water treatment facility that you have in your plant would go to be a liquid fertilizer. Did I see that correctly? It flashed really quickly, so I'm not sure if I saw it correctly.
One of the outputs, I think this addresses your issue, is certain parts of the water that we clean. You see here these 3 stages of water, so it looks something like this. It has a very high nitrogen content and other nutrients. And we've been approached by a number of people, not here in Allentown, elsewhere in the country, that want to use this as fertilizers, liquid applied fertilizer. We have to pass the local regulations and test it to make sure that it would meet those local regulations to be allowed to use this land applied fertilizer first. But it is a possibility.
Okay, thank you. So I guess that accounts for maybe some nitrates and all, but I've been trying to figure out exactly what output, as far as toxins and pollutants, will be coming from the facility and going to the Klein Island wastewater plant. And I have been having lots of troubles finding exactly what is coming out of the system. You've had lots of information on the air emissions, but having trouble finding exactly what's coming out into the water. You hold up the clear water, but anyone who's grown up living on farms knows that because water is clear doesn't make it clean. So I'd like to know where I can find that information and what is in the water, as well as this is important to me because I know that the water is being sent to Klein Island, but wastewater facilities such as Klein Island do not so much clean out the toxins that might come from your facility. They are more large organic and particulate matter and a few toxins. So I'd like to know if the water coming out of your facility, what's in it, and can it be cleaned by the Klein Island wastewater treatment plant?
So, in order for us to take water from our facility and put it back into the wastewater treatment plant for disposal into the Lehigh River, DEP regulates the water, and so does the county, in terms of various levels that need to be measured and have to be met. And actually, there's an ordinance, I think it's an ordinance of regulation of the city, that we have to meet some kind of bacteria level, some kind of chemical level, and some kind of potassium and nitrogen level. So we are prepared, and our water treatment system effectively does that, to get it to the levels that are acceptable by the city before we put it back there. That's a requirement. We can't get around that. So it would be no different than the water that's going through there now. Let me have Asha answer that a little bit.
We are going to have a pre-treatment system. As they produce the water, we are going to treat it with the physical chemical treatment to get all the metals out. And then we are going to discharge it to the headworks of the Allentown wastewater treatment plant. We will have the permit from them to discharge this wastewater, but before this wastewater, which is the processed wastewater, I'm going to call it, goes there, we will have a full wastewater treatment train. That will have a pH adjustments, that will have a physical chemical treatment to some type of this biological, to make sure that we meet the pre-treatment standards as it goes to their plant, and then they will process it, and then it goes back to the DEP. So it's a township.
I misspoke earlier, I was just corrected. DEP does not regulate the water, it's the city and the state that regulate the water. So we have to meet their requirements on issues, things like, it's called BOD, COD, and TKM, to be specific.
Actually, under the Federal Clean Water Act, and every wastewater treatment plant that receives an industrial process has to have regulations which prevent pass-through or interference of fluids. It has to have regulations that prevent pollutants that are hazardous from passing through or interfering with the process. So the city of Allentown has to do that. I mean, the city of Allentown has to do that. It has a pre-treatment process, and we are proposing to have a pre-treatment process which will remove pollutants that pass through or interfere.
Okay, and I also know that any water discharge would be going to the Delaware River, which is a specially protected water system under the Delaware River Basin Commission. And I've been informed by them that they have been in contact with you about filing a permit, which has not been answered yet. I wonder if you could address that.
Are you talking about the permit to withdraw water from the Delaware River Basin Commission? Okay, we're not here to discuss that. That's a question to the River Basin Commission.
Okay.
That's a withdrawal, not a discharge, although they regulate.
Okay, any more questions, sir?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can't make out his name, Yusef Jalal. I really cannot. Thank you, thank you.
Hello, my name is Yusef. So, first of all,
Here, hold the mic up to you.
my name is Yusef, so I don't want to ask questions and take answers. Please make note at the end and answer my questions, because I don't want to take time. It's really important. I'm talking on behalf of those people sitting over there. I'm a student in energy systems engineering, and it was really impressive for me. And the persons who are talking about technology, just for me as a person, a little bit understand about technology, changing in your proposal, it's really strange for me. You were talking about your carbon active absorption, you were talking about a scrubbing process, you were talking about using water in your scrubber. Right now you change everything. You choose selective catalytic reactor. What happened? The thing that you proposed to the city was different with lots of piping and instrumentation diagram. How come you did your piping and instrumentation diagram, right now you're changing your processes? I need detailed information. That's really important, because it seems you're testing something. Testing something doesn't work with the health of people. That's really important. That's first. I don't need answer. Please keep making note. That's really important. And for DEP, there is no way to get rid of dioxide. You can reduce dioxide. I'm talking about detailed literature, You talk about, for example, Science magazine. People are here can't go and find Science magazine. It's not hard thing. You are talking about technical aspects. Talking about, let me just say, you are talking about a lot of mistake in your presentation. I'm not going to compare this fuel with coal. It's not a problem here. So the problem is itself not fuel. And if fuel is clean, it doesn't mean emission is clean. So emission, something that is coming after combustion, is full of material that can impact health of people. And dioxin, and really that's a strange for me.
Well stated.
Environmental Protection Agency, you yourself, what did? You concluded a well studies from University of Michigan dioxin exposure study, and you did conclude that living in the area associated with exposure to dioxin can conclude to elevated level of dioxin in the human blood. We are talking about soil, everything, dust in the household. So you did that. You know that it has a problematic effect. But you are going to accept the facility that's going to work 35 years. 35 years? It's like a joke. So this time you yourself proposing first recycling and reduction, then going through incineration, and then you are talking about 35 years contract with a process that has lots of uncertainty. This process didn't implement in the United States. We don't have any kind of this process. It's full of uncertainty. So how you want to make sure, how you want to give me guarantee that you don't have any level of dioxin that can potentially impact people by 35 years. I'm responsible not for my family today, I'm responsible for the new generation that is coming. Yet if you really have a concern of helping people, if you really have this kind of concern, go and invest in recycling.
Sir, you have 1 minute.
Okay, go and inform people to reduce their trash. That's the thing. If you want to do really the goodwill, that's the thing that you can do. Technology that you explain, it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? The kind of explanation is full of uncertainty. That's the thing that I find in your proposal. How come your proposal you're putting some Japanese language? What does it mean? Why it should be Japanese language over there? So later you can talk about that. So
30 seconds, sir.
30 seconds, okay. About real-time
Can I answer your question?
No. About continuous vision. I hope you are making note because it's really important. I'm not talking about behalf of myself. I'm talking about those people sitting over there, okay? About continuous, monitoring, give guaranteed people, not those 7 people, something like that. We need a technical person can continuously monitor all of the pollutants in your plant.
Thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you very much.
Well done. I got that video at least.
Natalie, the ball. Natalie? Natalie? Okay. Go ahead. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I am a student from Lincoln University. I'm a graduate student. I've been working on flood risk and also looking at emergency preparedness. And I have this great map to have up right now because I've been looking at the facility over there. I actually went to walk over there yesterday to take a look at your levy. And in all of your proposals, I haven't seen anything talking about the levy surrounding your area. And the fact that we're going to be experiencing a lot more extreme weather these days, and we're also going to be dealing with higher and more severe floods, I don't see any concern for the community around you because I don't see any strong levees protecting the community.
Okay, let me address it. Can you address that?
If I understand your question correctly, if you walk the plot, you'll notice that there is a pretty high berm between where the building will go and the river. Right?
I also noticed that it's covered in vegetation and crumbling.
When
Just like,
that site has been used for a variety of dumping, in the winter for snow, a temporary storage place for dirt occasionally. What I can tell you is that when we begin to excavate the land in order to put our building in there, we are actually going to increase the size of that berm, and we are going to landscape it, so that that berm will become actually stronger should, God forbid, any kind of water come over from the river. So actually, we're going to improve that site dramatically.
and how high are you planning to make that levee?
The berm itself? Rick, do you know the answer to that? 5 to 10 feet high.
5 to 10 feet, when there's a chance that we could be experiencing floods that are 30 feet high.
Okay, I'm
I can't talk about that.
Move you along. I'm here to talk about the air quality and the waste management. Go ahead. So your next question, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to read this real quick. This is from the Northampton County Emergency Management Service. And it says, flooding of the Allentown sewer treatment plant would affect a large number of people in the area and around the city of Allentown. It would likely result in widespread contamination of the floodwaters and potentially the drinking water supply. And the public may be advised to boil water before using it to drink or cook. Additional limitations on water uses may be issued. So the question is, if you do experience a flood, and I know it's impossible, but say it happens, how are you going to protect the residents of Allentown from having to deal with these extreme measures when you have very toxic substances on site that could easily go right into the Lehigh River, as you can see, which is right there next to you?
First of all, all the toxic materials are being removed. So the toxic materials that they're talking about that might be in the MSW or the sewage sludge.
Like as soon as they're created, they're
Let me finish. Whatever might be in the MSW or the biomass in the sewage sludge, whatever it is that's bad, it's removed in our process. It's cleaned in our process. That's the whole idea. Secondarily, rising water are handled in a number of ways. We have 2 retention ponds that we're putting on site and multiple storage pits for water, drainage, of various kinds inside the building. All designed at considerable additional cost to make sure that that's contained.
Okay, and I keep hearing about this cake that's going to be created from the ash. So that's not going to have any toxic substances in it at all. And I also keep hearing about there's going to be some byproduct that's going to be needed to take into a landfill. So that's not going to be on site. That's going to be, I don't know, carried in a cloud or something. I don't know.
Cloud waste management. Yeah, I can see that coming.
As the gentleman here from Yukon expressed to you, fly ash from the combustion is eventually captured in the airbags, in the bag houses, sorry. And those bag houses are then removed, those bags are then removed for disposal. And Lou could talk to that more. You should know also that that site is above the 500-year floodplain.
When I talked to the guy at FEMA, he said that would be the worst place to put an incinerator. But that's
It's not an incinerator.
Of course.
Okay, do you have another question? Do you have another question? Okay.
Or he doesn't.
Brina Holland? Brina Holland?
Oh, she's all the way over there. Okay. There she comes.
Good evening. I have a number of questions for you all tonight, so I'm trying to figure out how to do this quickly. My first one is for DEP. What does the NAICS stand for on the permit application for Delta Thermos Energy's air pollution permit? NAICS stand for? What does that stand for on the permit application?
You don't know? Okay, you do know that.
It's an industry SIC code. It's a classification code for this type of industry.
Okay, great. Could you tell me what the number is, please?
4953.
4953. What's the number
That's a SIC code.
And what does that stand for?
That's industrial classification code.
Okay, and what does that number, that precise number stand for? What's it characterizing?
It's just a code that the federal government comes out and.
Yeah, I know. What's it, what the substance of it is referring to a code, a category of something. What is it? What is it?
Transportation and utility revenue systems.
Yeah, well, what it's actually referring to is that it's a code for solid waste combustors and incinerators. That's the legal classification. So I'm just confused as to why we keep on saying we can't call this an incinerator, because I looked up the number, and the number that they were using on their air pollution permit application was for solid waste combustors and incinerators. Obviously, there's some confusion. I don't want to waste all my time talking about that. I would urge you to do that, to look into that, because it doesn't seem like people want to refer to it as an incinerator, but it is combustion was going on here. And the EPA stated in 1992 that what municipal solid waste combustors are incinerators, which is perhaps why people keep referring to it as an incinerator. My other question for DEP is, can you tell me, based on the actual permit application that you're approving tonight, what pollutants are going to be continuously monitored?
The slide was up that showed the pollutants up on the screen.
For continuous monitoring. Continuous, ongoing monitoring.
Using the STEM system, right?
All of those pollutants are going to be continuously monitored?
Yes, they agreed to that.
When did that happen?
Discussions.
Just random discussion, because that's not actually what's written into their contract.
You know, the idea of continuous emissions monitoring is a very broad subject. And for us, we have always been committed to doing continuous monitoring. If you read the contract of the city, it's required. And so
Your monitoring is required for only some
Excuse me, let me
pollutants.
finish, please.
Ma'am, let me answer the question.
The contract with the city specifically talks about it. So we could not have signed that contract in good conscience or legally had we not agreed to do that. And we've agreed to do that from day one.
Of what pollutants? You're saying all of those pollutants are in the contract? Because I read the last contract. I can pull it up on my computer if you'd like. I have it. And it says that you're actually only monitoring carbon monoxide, SOx and NOx, and some acid fluid gases. These are not all the pollutants that you're emitting. You already just went through them. We had the metals, we had the particulate matter, all kinds of things are coming out of it. So this is not all of them. These are things that are relevant to only a certain subset of processes.
I don't know where you're going with this.
We are
monitoring everything that's required. Everything that's required plus some.
Go ahead, continue answering. Thank you.
That's the list. It's very simple.
Okay. Now can you put up the list of all the toxic pollutants you're emitting? Please. The other list of all the, you've got all a bunch of metals and other things besides this that you're emitting. Can you now put that list up?
If there is a pollutant that is required to be
You do have a list, correct?
Can I just answer the question? If there's a pollutant that needs to be monitored by regulation of DEP, the state or the federal government through EPA, it will be monitored.
We know it doesn't actually need to be monitored.
We are using the best available technology on multiple fronts. You can't get anything better, and this is all being monitored.
Okay, I don't want any more interruptions. No one's yelling out anymore, or I'm going to ask you to leave.
Okay, I would just like not to have this consume my time, okay? So the best available technology standards, right? If I understand everything I ever learned in an environmental law class, those standards are not based on what's safe for human health. They're based on feasibility. What's feasible for the industry, what the standard norm is in the industry. The criteria pollutants that are regulated by the Clean Air Act, those are set based on health, those are health-based standards. Best available technology standards, these MR standards, are not based on what's healthy. So I don't like associating the word health with that. I mean, you can say you're complying with regulation, that doesn't necessarily mean you're achieving conditions of safe for human health. That's a comment. I also would like to know from DEP, how is it exactly that you ensure there's compliance with these emission standards?
There's stack test requirements in the permit. It's going to require stack tests on every pollutant. While they're stack testing, they're gonna set parameters on the control devices, parametric monitoring, that they have to continuously monitor pressure drop on bag houses, ammonia injection for NOx control, and such like that. And we have inspectors that will be periodically coming out to the facility, they have to keep records, report records to us.
Okay, so can I just stop you there before I forget? So when you say that you'll have inspectors out, about how often do you inspect the facility?
Regulations say at least once per year. Certain facilities we could do 4 times a year on a quarterly basis. If we
So
get the-
between 1 and 4 times a year, you're going to be going out and making sure that they're complying with that everything, the information you're receiving is actually accurate, everything's running correctly, and they're complying with their emissions?
Yes, that's how we treat every facility in Pennsylvania.
So for all those other times in the year between, when you're not out there, how do we actually know that they're complying with their standards?
There's record keeping, continuous records that have to be kept electronically.
By the company?
There's data acquisition systems that track it.
And that gets turned into you on demand, or do you also only get that once a year?
We get that submitted to us, and we can check anytime we show up, we can check the records.
1 or 4 times a year?
Or more if we want.
So if you find non-compliance, you tend to go out and actually check the facilities more often?
It depends if we get complaints from citizens.